When the original Mark I Golf GTI pioneered the hot hatch segment, it was small, agile and relatively affordable. But since then, the Golf GTI and its rivals are anything but small, and they all become quite expensive, which has opened the opportunity for a whole new generation of pocket rockets. Think Opel Corsa, Renault Clio and Volkswagen Polo. This is the Opel Corsa Sport. It's not nearly as quick nor as sophisticated as next year's Opel Corsa OPC, nor the Polo GTI or the Clio RS for that matter. But it's also a lot more affordable, which begs the question whether this car is still fun to drive.
The Corsa Sport finds itself in an almost uncontested price bracket. As mentioned, the high-end performance hatchbacks such as the Polo GTI and the Clio RS are a lot more powerful, but also at least 50,000 Rand more expensive. Even the class-leading Ford Fiesta ST with its 134 kilowatt and 290 Newton meters is still 25,000 Rand dearer than the Opel. At the other end of the scale, the Suzuki Swift Sport only musters 100 kilowatt and 160 Newton meters, but it's some 20,000 Rand more affordable. As a package, therefore, it's probably the Corsa Sport's closest rival.
This latest Opel Corsa may appear a little droopy from some angles, but it's still quite distinctive, and in sport guise it certainly looks the junior OPC part. The body kit perhaps a little subtle for some tastes, but it's certainly purposeful, with the deeper sills and the bolder rear end adding a sporty touch.
Carbon look exterior mirrors and 17-inch alloy wheels emphasize the sport's athletic intentions. The rest is pure Corsa, which means you get a cleanly sculpted shape with an extended nose, bold Opel grille and contoured flanks. At just a smidgen more than 4 meters long and 1.75 meters wide, the Corsa Sport isn't a big car, but it also only weighs around 1,200 kilograms, which means it doesn't need a very big engine to live up to that sport designation.
That engine is a 1.4-litre turbocharged unit promising both power and economy. Maximum output 110 kilowatt, maximum torque 220 Newton meters, and that torque peak sustained between 3,000 and 4,500 RPM, which means it really does offer a lot of good tractability. The power transferred to the front wheels via a 6-speed manual gearbox.
The sporty theme is at its most apparent inside the cockpit of the Corsa. The cloth upholstery is an acquired taste, but the bucket seats offer decent support, and sport-specific touches, such as the flat-bottomed steering wheel and the alloy pedals, add further luster. The Sport also happens to be the top model in the Corsa range, which means it has a long list of standard equipment, ranging from remote central locking, aircon, electric windows and mirrors, to bi-xenon headlights with a cornering function and an extensive arsenal of safety features.
But given that this is the sport model, the emphasis is very much on the car's dynamic capabilities, and for the most, it doesn't disappoint. The engine feels lively, almost linear in terms of its response, and there's no lag to speak of, which means it gets off the mark with real alacrity and sustains that lively personality all the way through the rev range.
Admittedly, 9.6 seconds for the 0 to 100 dash won't break any records, and the same goes for the 204 km/h top speed. But the Sport's progress is less about the stopwatch stats and more about the actual driving experience.
Put it this way, the Opel Corsa Sport is fun to drive. The chassis feels composed, the throttle response is nice and crisp, and the steering is direct enough to chuck the car into corners with real confidence. The only negative there is the power assistance, which is electric and really robs the car of feel and feedback.
However, it doesn't take too long to get used to the steering, while the taut chassis and ample grip from those 17-inch wheels and tyres benefits the Corsa's road manners. It doesn't have the outright urge nor the finesse of the Fiesta ST, but it's still a lot of fun to drive. The Suzuki Swift is not as strong nor as precise, but arguably a little more forgiving at the limit.
As I've said before, the Opel Corsa Sport commands a niche of its own. It's quite a bit cheaper than the Ford Fiesta ST and more expensive than the older generation Suzuki Swift Sport. But it does have a lot of kit, one of the best infotainment systems in its segment, and it's a lot of fun to drive. All of which means that value is another strong suit of this car, and that might be the most compelling proposition of all.
The turbo engine always feels stronger than the specs suggest, while a 6-speed gearbox with nicely stacked ratios makes the most of the urge on offer. Add a well-sorted chassis and lots of standard kit, and the Corsa becomes a very attractive pocket rocket indeed. The only letdown here is the dull over-assisted steering.